Good evening, everyone. So I would like to take you through the histopathology of retinoblastoma. What is the role of retinoblastoma in what is the role of histopathology in retinoblastoma? It confirms the clinical diagnosis. It's moving. It's required for staging and prognostication of retinoblastoma and to assess the treatment response. So this is how we see retinoblastoma. Once we take the central callet, which is the optic pupillary pupil axis, where we see this fleshy gray-white friable tumor occupying the globe, and this is on the scanner view where we see that the tumor occupies most of the globe, and this is a combined endophytic and an exophytic tumor. So retinoblastoma, based on the differentiation, it can be well differentiated with a lot of rosettes. It can be poorly differentiated with few minimal rosettes here and there, and mostly undifferentiated tumor. And this is how an undifferentiated tumor looks like, with a lot of apoptosis and mitosis. And you can have a very well differentiated component, which is also known as retinocytoma, where you have florets. And in an undifferentiated pattern, you can have these cells just clinging onto the vessels in the center, which is also known as peritheliomatosis pattern. Now, retinoblastoma, once it fills up the globe, how does it spread? So it can spread through the optic nerve and through the meninges into the CSF and to the brain. It can also go have a direct extension into choroid and sclera and have an extrascleral extension into the orbit, and or it can also come out through the trabecular meshwork into the Schlemm's canal and out of the globe. So the most important part of the specimen which is sent is the transected end of the optic nerve, and as you can see, you can have very well delineated cells, but often what we get is this kind of picture where the cells are crushed because we take a cut section of that end. And if you are doubtful whether these are inflammatory cells or they are RB cells, then you just run a synaptophysin which can highlight those tumor cells. Now, how do we look at the prelaminar, intralaminar, and the retrolaminar involvement of optic nerve? Now, in the optic nerve, you have a few fibers which are perpendicularly aligned to the axis of the optic nerve. Now, that particular area is lamina cribrosa. Fibers which are ahead of that is the prelaminar region, and behind it is the retrolaminar region. So anywhere when we try to assess, now in this particular case, this is the prelaminar region, this is the lamina cribrosa and retrolaminar region, and you can see that the tumor cells are extending from the prelaminar to the retrolaminar region. And also you can see that there is a full thickness involvement of the choroid, and this is greater than 3 mm, and retrolaminar region with an extension of more than 1.5 mm. These measurements are important because these kind of cases pose high risk of metastasis. And also the choroidal involvement, how do you call it, focal or massive? Focal is when there is involvement less than 3 mm, and massive when the involvement is greater than 3 mm. And whenever you have a doubt that whether it's involved or not, you have to carefully look at the Bruch's membrane, which is usually highlighted on a PAR stain. Just see if it is intact or there is any rupture of the Bruch's membrane, and that will hint whether the choroid is involved or not. And this is how an extrascleral extension looks like, where the tumor cells directly pass through the sclera and is out into the orbit. And other questionable involvement or high risk features include the iris involvement, where it can form like a membrane over the surface, or it can involve the entire stroma of the iris. Then ciliary body, whether it is involving the processes, whether it's involving the stroma or the muscle, you have to look into it. And apart from that is the angle involved by the tumor, whether the trabecular meshwork is involved by the tumors inside that mesh, and the Schlemm's canal, whether it's extending up to that or not. And also look for the aqueous seeds if they are present. Usually when you take a cut, you see that the angle and the deposits of the seeds are seen in that angle. And as Anusua just said, that Francis Munier had looked into the vitreous seeds, giving chemotherapy, intravitreal chemotherapy for the seeds, vitreous seeds. They have also classified these vitreous seeds and had a clinico-pathological correlation, and this is the landmark paper for that, wherein they classified these vitreous seeds into dust, spear, and cloud. And we in-house have also tried to do the same with the aqueous seeds, where we classified it into dust, cloud, spears, and the cloud. Finally, we finished the examination with a bone marrow aspiration and CSF analysis, whether we look for the deposits, whether they are present or absent. Now, I'll take you through a case where we had difficulty in identifying whether this was RB or not. So this is a case of a 45-year-old lady presenting from East Godavari, Andhra Pradesh, had complaints of diminution of vision for 4 months. Left finger was counting fingers and pupil showed grade 4 RAPD. Rest all appeared normal. Now the left eye color fundus photo showed a creamy yellowish lesion arising from the retinal layers and occupying about 2/3 of the retinal quadrants. It was associated with exudative retinal RD, and there were about a few vessels which were seen over the surface, and optic discs and macula appeared to be involved in this particular case. And B scan showed a large hypoechoic lesion which was involving the retina, and it had more than 16 mm of basal diameter and 10 mm of height. So because this was a 45-year-old lady with this particular presentation, the consultant had thought that we have to undergo, we have to plan for a FNAB of that retrolental mass and decide based on the cytopathology and microbiology whether it was an infectious origin or a malignant origin. And a whole body PET-CT scan was done, and that showed hyperactive areas in the left eye and in the cervical lymph nodes. Now this was the so the vitreous biopsy which was sent, this was the biopsy cell block of the biopsy, which showed few scattered atypical cells along with necrotic cells and debris. So those particular atypical large cells which were seen here were highlighted on synaptophysin. Cytokeratin, HMB45, melanine, CD20 were negative in this particular case. So this was a case of a malignant round cell tumor, query RB, because the synaptophysin was positive. Later, this eye was enucleated because there was a questionable say that it was RB. On gross examination, what we found was that the tumor was predominantly seen in the choroid with a very small extension into the vitreous cavity. You can see the break in the Bruch's membrane over here. So this is the scanner view showing the similar picture. If you can see that this whole area of the tumor is predominantly in the choroid and is extending into the ciliary body. This is the peripheral callet which is showing the same. And this is the enlarged magnified view where you can see that the Bruch's membrane is ruptured and these small cells are entering into the vitreous cavity over here. And this is the higher magnification of the cells which were round to oval hyperchromatic with 1 or 2 prominent nucleoli. And this is on the higher magnification, the angle and the ciliary body. You can see that the cells were very close to the meshwork but not involving through it. But ciliary body, muscle and the stroma were involved. Schlemm's canal also was spared, and there was nothing in the angle. Other than that, there was involvement of the inner scleral fibers, and after a lot of search and through a lot of sections, we could trace the in situ areas within the retina. As you can see, this is the retinal layers which is giving rise to the tumor cells, and it had a direct extension into the choroid. So on immunohistochemistry, again, which we repeated, synaptophysin was positive, NAC, CD6 showed faint expression in the lesional cells, and Ki67 was around 60%. And to confirm that this is of retinal origin, we had also run CRX, which is a marker for cone precursors, and that showed intense positivity in the tumor cells. So this was a case of adult onset poorly differentiated retinoblastoma. and this was followed up by bone marrow biopsy, which was negative for atypical cells, and CSF was also negative. Screening of progeny was normal, and patient had been recommended for genetic testing, but the patient was not willing at that particular time, and the treatment was done in the in lines of orbital retinoblastoma. So to conclude, histopathology remains the gold standard for diagnosis and staging of the disease, and in cases with ambiguous presentation, ancillary technique along with the histomorphology might be useful. Thank you.
Thank you, Soumya, for that excellent talk. It was a visual treat, and yes, the